Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Hickson Diaries. Thank you guys so much for joining us. We have a show for you tonight. We're going to talk about Veterans Day / Remembrance Day. That was just this past weekend. We're going to talk. We're going to watch a fun video about reaction of Trump becoming president-elect of the United States. We're also going to watch an old film about English pubs from the 1940s that I found. And later on, I'm also going to announce the finalist to our live stream name contest. So make sure you're sticking around for that. And of course, your reactions to everything that we talk about and questions, comments, concerns. And I'm sure we'll go off on a tangent because we usually do. But I love it. So, if you guys could be so kind as to please hit the like button, share the stream if you are so inclined, I appreciate that. It helps us out a lot, actually. And make sure you send in all your messages and super chats so that we can interact, because that's my favorite part. No joke, it's my favorite part. Yay! I'm so excited. Oh, hello, Chris. Welcome. Hello, Falco. Welcome. Appreciate it. Whew, excited. Okay, let's get started. And let's just dive right in. So we're gonna start with the UK Remembrance Day and the US Veterans Day. So that's what we call it in the US. It's not that it's not a day of remembrance, but we also have something called Memorial Day, which is really for remembering soldiers that have fallen. So I think Memorial Day is probably more equivalent, but Veterans Day is on November 11th, the 11th of November. So I did celebrate both yesterday. Excuse me. Yes, yesterday was Remembrance Day. I put out the video on Sunday. I don't know if y'all saw it, and I said that it was Remembrance Day Sunday, and that it was November 11th on Sunday. And a couple people called me out in the comments, so I felt kind of silly. But in all fairness, they call it Remembrance Sunday. So, and there was a bunch of stuff going on over the weekend, so I just got a little bit ahead of myself on the actual dates. But there's still remembrance going on all weekend. I'm just saying. So, how I used to celebrate Veterans Day in America was much more involved even than most Americans, unfortunately. Um, so there would usually be, I'm going to equate Memorial Day and Veterans Day together in America. So there would usually be some kind of ceremony in the morning for monuments throughout the town for fallen soldiers. And my father, of course, would be involved in that. So we would go and see him. They would do a uniform, they would do speeches, they would lay poppies and wreaths, and they would do a 21 gun salute. Or it was like depending on how many people they could get to actually that was qualified to shoot the guns, it would be, like a 9-gun salute, 3 guns, 3 shots, or it would be 21, depending on how many people they could get. It's supposed to be 7 soldiers shooting 3 times, right? So that's 21 gun salute. But of course, it was difficult sometimes to get all of those people. And then Memorial Day, there used to be a parade, which my father would march in, and then there'd be like barbecuing and stuff like that. Not nearly as big a deal. Memorial Day is a bigger deal that it's like the beginning of summer in the United States for the most areas, and not so much about the remembering, which frustrated me. But the Veterans Day is something that obviously in our family we celebrated a lot, and I think Veterans Day is more of an equivalent to what it seems like you do to celebrate Remembrance Day. So I watched the I forgot what it was called now. You guys can help me out. The the wreath laying that the king did with the prime ministers there, Saropath or something like that. Please put it in the chat for me. And I did watch that, and that was moving. That was kind of what I expected it to be. What I did like about it was that there was a lot of all the prime ministers, past prime ministers as well. And I'm not going to get into too much politics or anything on this one, but I found it to be very interesting that you had all the prime ministers, no matter what party they represented, coming together, and it was just in a very open bipartisan, show. It wasn't anything that was a photo op. I mean, it is a photo op, right? But it's not. It was done with respect. I liked that because I don't think that a lot of places in America do stuff like that anymore, where where they actually put the politics aside for a little while and just focus on what's going on at the moment. Unless it's like a disaster, like the hurricanes and tornadoes and things like that. They kind of did, but there's still a lot of politics involved, which is really frustrating. I also watched the Royal British Legion Festival, and that one hit me a little bit harder. Actually, it hit me much harder. So I watched that one yesterday. Excuse me, I watched that one Sunday. So Sunday we went to the local memorial in town, and we went to the service, and we got there kind of late, so we were behind the fence, and I could kind of see what was going on and hear what was going on. I got the gist of it. I'd been through a couple other ceremonies before in America. I kind of understood what was going on, and I was very emotional. It's been a very emotional weekend. I was very emotional at the service because it was the first one of those types of services I've been to since my father died. So there's a whole lot of stuff coming up with that. But after that is when we went home and we all watched the Royal British Legion Remembrance Festival together. And I was going to actually stream it and just show my reactions to it and stuff. But I was, like I said, I was very emotional at the service. So I had opted not to because I was just not in a really good headspace and thinking clearly. I'm kind of glad I didn't because I could just really focus on it and react, and it was really very, very moving, and I was basically emotional wreck the entire time. I was crying the entire time watching that as well. But there's a few things that specifically struck me that I wanted to talk about if you guys don't mind. So you guys, again, it was like national unity, and this I noticed last year as well, but I didn't really touch on it too much. But like the poppy day and the selling of the poppies, wearing of the poppies, having poppies on your car, all that kind of stuff. Everybody has them. Everybody wears them for I don't get most of November, something like that. It seems like it's been going on a couple weeks, but they're everywhere. And it's not like that in America. I mean, we sell poppies and we do things like that, but it's not as like widespread in the general public. It's just I don't think people really understand it. Definitely understand it better here, and I really liked that it was almost universal. That there was the majority of the public recognizes its significance and participated. I really, really liked that. The ceremony itself was absolutely beautiful. It was very moving. It was interesting to me to see all of the uniforms and all of the different regiments and things like that because I don't, I'm not familiar with it. And I did have a little bit of a chuckle at some of the older uniforms that they're still that they're still worn, like the revolutionary one, like the ones that were during the American Revolution, that similar to the what the British Army wore in the American Revolution. I was like, oh, you guys still wear those, huh? I was kind of chuffed at that part, but most of it, I was pretty much crying through most of it, and the other thing that I really liked about it is your book of remembrance, where I think someone told me that it's got every name of everyone who's fought in those wars and has died in it, and I think that's just incredible. And the whole ceremony of the stacking of the drums and putting the book on top and then laying the flags in front of it, that was really, really beautiful. That was one of my favorite parts. We don't have anything like that in America. Um, it it was interesting to see. It's interesting to me whenever we're at these types of national ceremonies or see these national things happen where there's prayer at the end of it, because here obviously you do that because there's a national religion and the king is religious and all of that. The king's the head of the church, those types of things. We don't have anything like that in America. There's no set religion in America, so we never really do prayers like that on a national scale. Sometimes in the local ceremonies, like I said, my father would participate in those local ceremonies. They would do prayers sometimes like that, but those are only local segments. They would never do it nationally like that. So that was really, really weird for me to watch, but obviously I understand it, and I'm not knocking it or anything, but that was something that stood out to me because it was really the first time I had seen it in that context like that before. Um and the other thing that really, really struck me and stuck out from the whole festival thing was the respect. There is so much precision and care taken in every single moment of the ceremony. Look, America is extremely rah America. We're like the world police and everyone loves us, and that kind of thought process and how we view the world as a whole, as a country. And we're very big on supporting our troops. And but we do things like hold the flag out, stand for the national anthem. We play the national anthem all the time. Flags are everywhere. And we do flyovers at sports events and things like that. We don't really have a ceremony like this where we just take a couple hours to honor people that have fallen for the country or in the name of the country, not in a national way, and not in a way where the entire country comes together, or obviously not the entirety of the UK comes together. I'm sure there's people who don't participate, but we don't really have where it's the entire country coming together, the entire group of nations, the entire nation. And then that struck me a lot because it was just done with so much more respect, in my opinion, than a lot of what America does. America seems to do it in a way that's much more commercialized and much more promotional and propagandist. I'm going to say it. I said it. I'm going to own it. More in a propaganda-ish kind of way. Whereas this was very just I can't think of any other word other than utmost respect to the soldiers and everyone that was participating. That was really, really good to see, and that made me feel really good, even though I was I was upset. I really enjoyed that festival, and I really think that's something I might watch every year. Obviously, as you all know, if you've been following the channel, if you don't know, you're new to the channel. We are partners with the Royal British Legion. A portion of our proceeds every month goes to the Royal British Legion, and we're in the future we're going to be working on fundraising and things like that for them as their partners. So it was really important to me to see that, and I didn't expect them to do anything but a stellar job. But the entire ceremony to me was extremely impressive, and it was emotionally cathartic for me because it's been so long since I'd participated in a live event like we did in town earlier in the day, and then I watched a really long ceremony about remembering and all of that. So it was emotional, and I was kind of up and down the whole time, but I really enjoyed it from the aspect of I felt like it gave me the right transition to be able to kind of participate in this stuff in a live sense, and in a traditional sense without having to feel as uncomfortable. I missed my father, and it was weird not having my father as part of all this stuff. Even though we're in England and it was different, it's still like in the back of my mind, I was like, my dad should be here. I should be talking to my dad. But it made me feel it seemed like it was a good bridge, to whatever the future is going to hold for me and this portion of my life. So I was really, really happy that I did it. And yeah, that's really, I'm just going to end it there. I mean, I think it was a fantastic tribute, and it's definitely something I'll never forget. It inspired me to do something that I didn't think of. Actually, someone suggested it to me, and I really, really, I'm going to be doing this, I think, every year on Remembrance Day. So there's a village in Kent called Ham Street. Some of you might have seen that I did a video on this when we first got here about it. The village of Ham Street in Kent was actually saved by an American pilot. It was a World War II pilot. I didn't write down his name, and that's awful of me. Lieutenant William Johnson. And he was in the United States Air Force. And he in World War II. And he was attacked by some of the German fighters, and his plane got damaged. And I'm paraphrasing this, of course, because I'm doing this from memory. I should have brought something up. I apologize. Let's just read this from Kent Online real quick. The bravery of an American pilot who gave his life saving his crew and the residents of Ham Street will be remembered. Lieutenant William Bill Johnson was the pilot of a Boeing B-17 Flying Fortress known as Spare Parts, which is part of the 711th Bombardment Squadron, 447th Bombardment Group of the United States Army Air Forces. On Thursday, April 13th, 1944, having ordered his crew to abandon the plane, which had been heavily damaged over Europe, Lieutenant Johnson intentionally crashed to the south of Ham Street to avoid killing the villagers. As you can see his picture. After the crash, Tech Sergeant Frank Hazard said, for about 20 minutes after we hit the French coast, everything went along smoothly, but then suddenly all hell began to break loose. A terrific explosion sounded directly beneath my turret, and I knew we had been hit pretty badly. All 4 officers had been wounded by the flak. The co-pilot had been hit in the arm rather badly, and the pilot had been hit in the back of the neck, but he told me to take care of the navigator first. Lieutenant Johnson, 23, and his crew were among the lead of a group of 243 B-17s, which were taking part in a raid to bomb the Messerschmitt, I think I said that right, aircraft plant at Augsburg in Bavaria, southern Germany. Around 100 miles inland from the French coast, the group came under heavy fire from anti-aircraft guns, causing a number of bombers to abort the mission. The squadron was based at the Royal Air Force Rattleton in Suffolk, and on the return journey, Lieutenant Johnson ordered his 9 crew members to bail out of their stricken aircraft over Hythe. I think that's it, right? That's it. So he ended up saving villagers in Ham Street. And there is a memorial. It's called Johnson's Corner. And there's a big American flag. And I had noticed when we were driving by the American flag, and obviously that stood out to me. And when I stopped to see what it was, I noticed that it was this a memorial to this gentleman who gave his life. So after work yesterday, we went and took flowers to his memorial and laid them. There were wreaths and stuff there, and just had 2 moments of silence there, and thanked him for his service and left. And that since I couldn't do something like that for my father, it made me feel really, really good and gave me a little bit of closure to be able to do that for him. And I think that that's something now I'm going to do every year because it felt really good. And it made me feel like I was honoring my dad. And I know it would be very tough for my dad to be in England just because I don't know how he would get here because he never flew. He didn't fly since the war, but he would have liked that. He would have appreciated that. So that's how I spent my Remembrance Day, my Veterans Day. Oh, the other thing I wanted to mention that was nationwide that really touched me was the 2 minutes of silence. So on the 11th of November at 11 o'clock every year, they honor the veterans, the fallen soldiers, and all of the veterans with 2 minutes of silence. What struck me about it was that it was nationwide. They did it in the schools. They did it in work. Obviously, we're in the middle of work because it was on a Monday. The radio was on, and the DJ actually came on and said, "We are going to honor the 2 minutes of silence now." And they played just birds chirping for 2 minutes. We actually had a driver show up in the middle of the 2 minutes of silence, and he was told to wait until the end of the silence was over. Everybody in the office stopped. Everything stopped. No phones, no typing, nothing. That, and I was told by other people that the same thing happened at their places of work, and I was told by my child that it happened at school as well. That, as a national thing, I don't know has ever happened. I'm sure it's probably happened at some point in American history, but to have that happen on every year and where everybody pretty much stops, that was really beautiful. That was something also that struck me and touched my heart. And I will definitely, another thing that I will remember forever, that first one, what I was doing for that first one. And I really enjoy that. Overall, I have to admit that you guys do it better here. You guys honor your soldiers and your veterans better here. I don't think that we take that as seriously at all. And I think that there's a lot of people in America who don't understand the sacrifice that veterans and their families make. and people who are in the armed forces make, and how much you give up for it, and how important it is. And I don't necessarily 100% blame them, because there's a lot of just there's so much rhetoric around our troops and wars and all of that to begin with, in America, but also it's so vast and we're so disconnected from a lot of turmoil, which can be a good thing for safety, but also when you're that disconnected, sometimes it just doesn't seem real, right? As it does when you're involved, like you're directly involved, or you can directly see it. It's not to say that people don't care, but I just don't think they really grasp or understand the gravity of it. And you all meaning those in nations in the UK, from what I can tell so far, do. And I really respect that, and I appreciate that. And I know my dad would have appreciated that, which makes it all the more important. So that was my take on Veterans Day and Remembrance Day between the US and the UK. So let's get into some of your comments and catch up with y'all. Let's see who's joined us. I can see y'all going a little bit crazy here. Not crazy, but you know how it is. Please make sure to like and share the stream for me. I would appreciate that very, very much, y'all. As I said earlier, it helps us out so much, more than you can ever imagine. All right, TJ, welcome. Thank you for joining. Sam K, welcome. Roy Cousins in the house. What? Okay. Great to see all of you. John Rainford, nice to see you. Welcome. Your equivalent to Veterans Day is Armed Forces Day? Possibly. I'm probably going to continue to equate Veterans Day with Remembrance Day just because it falls on the same day for me, personally. But I have heard of Armed Forces Day, but I don't remember it being as involved. But maybe I just missed it, to be honest with you. Cenotaph. The cenotaph, is that how you say it? Cenotaph? I did watch the Festival of Remembrance and answered your question. You wear your pin from the 1st of November. The Gurkhas. Yeah. So I don't know that much about the Gurkhas. Someone was trying to tell me they didn't know that much, but that was pretty cool. We got to see the Gurkhas parade into town after the ceremony. That was kind of fun too. It was also kind of nice. I didn't mention this in my brief earlier, but it was really nice to see that too, because my dad, the parade was really important to my dad. Marching in the parade was really important to him. So to be able to see a parade of really proud people marching for, their country, that was good too. That was heartfelt and obviously touched me. So the whole day there was an emotional mess. The whole day I was up and down. I was laughing. I was crying. It was terrible, the entire day. And it was really, really good. It was a good day. I'm glad I did it, but it was a big, long day. I was very, very, I was very exhausted at the end of the day. Thank you, TJ. You're right. That is the point. So I shouldn't apologize, right? I know I feel like all I've done is talk about my dad all weekend, but I'm not going to apologize for ever talking about my dad. I miss him. Yeah, I agree. It's very emotional, Chris. I agree. Look, TJ, you're funny. It's just something that I've had to deal with my whole life. That's why someone else mentioned something about my typing skills at work, and I was like, really? I don't notice how fast I type until someone points it out. Hi, Claire. Thank you for joining. Elgar's Nimrod being performed at this cenotaph always gets me very emotional. I have to admit, the name, because in America, Nimrod is an insult. So when I first heard it, I was like, why are they doing that? Why are they saying that? And then I realized it was the song. I agree. It's a beautiful song. You still be saying, you're funny, TJ. TJ made this awesome costume. This is it a Harry Potter costume? Or because I know you made it because your character like to emulate the character in your gaming, right? TJ's a gamer, you guys. And but your costume is great. You did a great job, by the way. Go check it out on TJ's channel. It was really, really good. She's very talented. I wish I could put things together like that. There's one American pilot from New York called Sanders Draper that my son's school is named after, and there's a short video on it. Oh, can you send that to me, Chris? I'll definitely want to watch that. I said it right. I said Measure Schmidt right. Yay! Supermarkets fall silent too. See, I that's what I'm saying. Like it, even though we might have had, and we only have one moment of silence in America. So it's called a moment of silence. And we do it. It's not like we don't. And when we do, most people are pretty respectful. But like we'll do it at like a concert or a sporting event or right before a some kind of rally or something. Like we'll do it then. And like I said, most people are very respectful, but it's not like a nationwide thing. It's just like for that, the people involved in that realm, right? So that's why it struck me. I was like, oh my God, everybody across the country is doing this. Everybody across, the UK is doing this. This is crazy. That was just wild to me. In a good way, in a very good way. It happens at sports stadiums as well. Good. Years ago, traffic stopped too. Not so much nowadays. Yeah. I mean, that happens though, right? I mean, stuff like that does happen. All right. Chris is going to talk to us about the Gurkhas. The Gurkhas was started after Britain went to war with Nepal and we couldn't beat them, so we made an agreement for them to join our forces for the last 200 years. Oh, that's interesting. I'd like to see that video as well. Okay, type in Sanders Draper Channel 5. I'll remember that, Chris. Hogwarts Legacy game 160 years before Harry Potter. You're very welcome. Oh, you may have, to be fair, Chris, you sent me a lot of links. So like I haven't gotten to them yet though. But I will. They're on my list. I've seen a couple of them. Okay, so we're gonna move on now that the emotional part of it's gone. We're gonna move on to the next segment. Our contest finalists. I'm such a dork. Anyways, I'm having a lot of fun with this contest. You guys had a lot of fun with this contest. For those of you who don't know, we had a contest where we asked our subscribers and our community members to submit some names for this show, this live stream, because I couldn't come up with one that wasn't cheesy. So I thought you guys are awesome. You guys are also amazingly creative. So let's kick it to you and see what happens. And we narrowed it down to 5 finalists, and you guys are gonna vote, and the winner is gonna get the prestige of having named our show, and which I know will go down in history as an amazing, amazing prize, and also a 25-pound gift card. So a huge heartfelt thank you to everybody that participated. We got a lot more submissions than I thought we were going to get, and you made the job really, really hard because you guys are really creative. I can't say that enough. You just really baffled me with your creatives. Yeah, I had a really hard time narrowing it down to just 5. So I have to admit, I did call in some reinforcements. I talked to some people who were a little bit older than me. I talked to people my age. I talked to some people who were younger than me, just to get a nice rounded, set of opinions. And we narrowed it down to these 5. So, and I'm not gonna lie to you, it was some of it was kind of last minute. Not last minute is like we weren't paying attention or whatever. It was just like we were hemming and hawing because there were so many that we liked. So it really did come down to the wire. But here we go. Okay. So I have to put this up here so that I can do this properly. So here we go. These are I'm going to name the 5 finalists. These are in no particular order at all. Okay. But here we go. A Shandy and Brandy with Mandy from Mick MacArthur 3485. Number 1. Number 2. Mandy's Hop Across the Pond from our very own Chris Worcel. Congratulations. Number 3. She Talks, We Listen by Azelle Reagan. I think I said your name properly. I apologize if I did not, but please let me know if I did not so I can say it properly next time if I do say it again. Clash of the Cultures from TJ, a work in progress. Congratulations. And finally, The Next Episode Will Be Better by Kurt Bento. So there you go. There you have it. Those are our 6 finalists. Excuse me, 5 finalists. I can't count, apparently. Our 5 finalists. So congratulations to you guys. Congratulations to everybody that participated. Thank you again. I very much appreciate it. I'm going to put the list in the community tab tomorrow, and we're going to vote for the next week or so. We're going to end voting on the 20th of November at midnight. I'm going to take down the post at 20th of November midnight so no one else votes. And then I will announce the winner with the graphic and the intro and all that kind of stuff with special shout outs and stuff on the next stream after that, on the 26th. So yeah, make sure you vote. Make sure you tell everybody about it. Make sure you share it. Make sure we congratulate everybody that made the finals. And just so that you know, there's no purchase necessary. There's no affiliation with YouTube, Google, or anybody else. This is off the channel's back. And there was no favoritism, I promise. I know a couple of our regulars got in on that. But I promise there was no favoritism. That's why I opened it up to everybody so that I could get some objective opinions. But all of your submissions were amazing. Like I said, really hard time trying to narrow it down. But thank you all so much for participating. And I'm really looking forward to finding out who wins. And lots of luck to everybody. Thank you for the super chat, Chris. I appreciate it. I reach out with other Americans living in the UK. You know, I have, Sam. Some people have reached out back and some people haven't. And in all fairness, I haven't pursued a lot of it. I need to find some groups though, because I think I'm at the point now where I'm ready to kind of branch out to that and find that kind of community. And in the beginning, I wanted to be entrenched in the culture and be able to really just soak it up and find my feet here, and feel comfortable and confident in myself before I got into any situations where, honestly, where I had to answer for myself, because I just wanted to make sure I got a good hold on who I was, where I was, what I'm really feeling here and all that kind of stuff. And so much has happened in the year and a half or so that we've been here that it's been a little bit more difficult to do that than I had thought. So, but I am happy to do that. I have found a bunch of channels. There's one channel from someone who's from New Jersey, who I really like a lot. But there's a few people that I've been watching and I've been commenting and things like that. And I have reached out to a few. It is helping. It always helps to know that you're not the only person going through that, whatever you're going through, right? So these logos and banners, that are on here, the live stream one, I have no idea how I did that. I gotta look and see how I put those up. I'm such a boomer. Oh, goodness gracious. Anyway, hip over 50? Yeah, I think I know. That channel sounds familiar. I think I've seen a few of her videos. I will definitely remember that. But thank you very much for the suggestion, Sam. There's her name. The name is escaping me now of the channel, but it's another young woman from Kent who's from America. Girl Gone London, right? We reacted to one of her videos. I watch a lot of her stuff. Excuse me. And it's a few others. Yeah, it's been good. It's been good. All right. You guys want to do some reacts? Let's do some reacts. Let's do this one. I was told was funny, so let's hope it's not sometimes I think they're funny and then I go and watch it and I'm like, oh, it's just more serious than I thought. And then we get into a completely different type of conversation than I had realized we were going to, but no worries. All right, I had to do at least one. I had to do at least one about the Trump win. I don't want to get into too much of the politics of the US presidency or anything like that. A lot of people are super excited. A lot of people are really, really scared and melting down. I don't want to get into all of that stuff, but I think this one's supposed to be funny. So we're going to see. So it's Jonathan, what is it? Jonathan Pye, Trump wins the White House again. And let's see.
Liberal meltdown. Yeah, I'm just disappointed Trump won, right? I'm sure I'll get over it. It's hardly a meltdown, is it? I'm not thinking of hanging Mike Pence or taking a shit on the Speaker of the House's desk. It's hardly a proper meltdown, is it? Didn't he do well? Eh? First time round, he shocked the world. This time round, it was all but inevitable. He has been given, as he says, a powerful mandate, a conclusive cross-demographic coalition, proving once again that just relying on the vote of city-dwelling, latte-swilling liberal women doesn't win elections. One of the Democrats' final TV adverts was directly to women, and it essentially said, it's fine to vote for Kamala, just don't tell your husband. Yet when
there was like, I remember there was like a whole bunch of ads that I saw where they were like, the most Googled thing in the last month was, is there a way my husband can find out my vote or something? And I was like, that is the most made up thing I've ever heard of. Nobody's Googling that shit. Nobody's Googling that. Okay. Number one, if you're worried about your husband finding out about your political beliefs, you're not going to Google it because there's all kinds of history that they can access. Okay. Second of all, they're just going to ask a friend if it's really that important to them. And most women are not idiots. Okay, I'm just putting it out there. Most people are not idiots. A woman knows who's ever voted before in America. Anyone who's ever voted in American election, woman, man, whatever, knows that you can't find out. There's no way you can find out. You're in this booth where you have a curtain around you. Nobody can see you unless you tell them. Nobody knows who you voted for. You don't even have to vote for president. You can vote for everybody else. There's usually more than one position being voted on. So like it's, I remember when I saw that poll or that article about the poll, and I was like, this is the most made up thing I've ever heard of in my life. America's ridiculous.
You're relying on women to vote for you. Don't patronize them by making out they're all wife-battered wallflowers, because if you do that, you will lose. So what are we doing? An explainer of the results. What? Like he fucking smashed it. And she just spunked a couple of $1 billion up the wall on the most limp-dicked campaign in history. Something like that, you know.
She raised like $1 billion and she lost, man. That's so sad. It's really sad.
How long have I got? Okay. What about If you're genuinely trying to understand why America would vote for a convicted felon, a fraudster, a known liar and adjudicated rapist who paid off a porn star with campaign finances and then lied about it, stay tuned. All election, I've been asking, what are her policies? And the answer from Democrats has invariably been, well, what are his? Which is no answer at all. They had all the reasons not to vote for one candidate, but no reasons to vote for the other. Nothing on policies, nothing on immigration, no attempt to persuade the electorate that economically America is doing rather well, actually. Thank you very much. Once again, the Democrats have absolutely failed to effectively address the concerns of millions of Americans, particularly the millions who voted for Trump before and just voted for him again. Kamala Harris has completely ignored a genuine beef these people have. A huge section of America thinks the state is corrupt and wields too much power over normal people's lives and just serves the rich and the powerful. And they're not wrong. Trump didn't create this belief, he just used it. He harnessed it to...
Okay, and now what was her answer to that? She paraded around with a war criminal's daughter, who's in the Republican Party, in the opposite party. She campaigned with someone from the opposite party and said that she was who is a corrupt politician and a warmonger, and then said she was going to put a Republican like her, like the person she was campaigning with, in her cabinet. Is that supposed to win over people who feel like the government doesn't work for them?
To his own ends, but he is the only person talking about these things. He's voicing concerns that nobody else is. And when Donald Trump says he plans to dismantle the deep state and reclaim democracy from Washington, that might sound chilling or perhaps a bit authoritarian, but to many normal, sane Americans, that sounds amazing. Taking a flamethrower to governmental institutions is a genuinely attractive offer to millions of Americans. It's not about left or right, or good versus evil. It's not about MAGA, it's not about religion or abortion. They just feel powerless. They feel the state doesn't protect them from injustice, it just protects itself. And Kamala Harris has completely ignored the issue, handing Trump the keys to the White House, as well as the Senate, and possibly the House in the process, whilst thinking we're right and he's wrong, and that's good enough for us. Shame on them. The feeling all across America is at least he's going to do something. At least something will change. If you're going to go head to head with a man who is willing to lie through his teeth to get elected, who will say anything to get elected, then you better have something better to say yourself. Instead, all we got was this puke-inducing on the sofa with Oprah bullshit. This election is about joy over hate. It's about lifting people up. No, it isn't. It's about who is going to actually do something, change something. You can't just run on sunshine and lollipops and just not being the other guy. If she's not going to do anything meaningful, then why vote for her? And it's almost like no one gives a fuck which rich Hollywood A-listers are supporting Kamala Harris. It's almost as if unless Katy Perry, Harrison Ford, Beyonce, Taylor Swift, Eminem, DiCaprio or Clooney have got a new film or an album out to plug, then no one gives a fuck. What are her policies? How's she going to help me feed my kids? What's she going to do about the border? Fuck all. She doesn't have to do anything because she's just been endorsed by Sean Bean, Orlando Bloom and Dick Van Dyke. No one cares. Trump had Dr. Phil and Hulk Hogan, and he still fucking won. And with real-life Bond villain Elon Musk beavering away on X, spreading a flurry of slurry across the Gooniverse, and Jeff Bezos crouched in a filleting position ready to receive the royal orange cock of the tax-dodging multi-millionaire felon who's now running the show, America is now a fully-fledged plutocracy. So no real change there then. He will govern largely untrammeled this time. The drainer of swamps, the melter of snowflakes has returned to take America back to the good old days of lynchings, mass deportations and coat hanger abortions. An America where the denial of fact is government policy, where truth takes a back seat in favor of a brash, lying narcissist hell-bent on revenge and chaos. Okay, yeah, let's go. Well, a decisive win for for Donald Trump. The Democrats have a lot of soul-searching to do. However, the Democrats did make history by getting the first out transgender person elected to the US Congress. So it's not all bad. A small but significant gain there. But when we take a look at the electoral...
That was funny. That was funny. He did a good job. Very, very interesting. He has a pretty good handle on American politics, I'll say that. It's a little bit sad that that's what the next few years are going to be like for America, but good takes. Honest takes. Brewster's Millions vote for none of the above. I haven't seen Brewster's Millions in a long time. Is that what he does? You're talking about the old movie, right? Is that what you're talking about, Chris? Oh, I think that's what you're talking about. All right. We're going to go on to something a little bit more fun and nostalgic. 1940s film about the good old English pub. Richard Pryor, John Candy, yes! Two amazing comedians who I adore. Yes, Brewster's Millions. Was that what he was? I haven't seen it in so long. Now you're making me want to watch it, though. I was having a nostalgia the other day about watching some old, like, cheesy American movies from the 80s. One of our favorites is, as a family, is Coming to America. We watch that all the time. But I wanted to watch, what was it Eddie Murphy one where he's the bum? I can't remember what it's called. Anyway, it was really funny. And then, of course, Eddie Murphy, Beverly Hills Cop, like this all, and then of course your mind starts going and all these like movies that I watched when I was a kid came out. I mean, not when I was a kid, when I was, not even thought of yet. Trading Places. That's what it is. Thank you, TJ. You got me there. Trading Places. Yeah, that was funny. That was good. All right, let's watch this film about English pubs, you guys. Let's see what it was like in the 40s. I'm interested. Hey, there's something about old school, like old Hollywood films and I don't know if this was Hollywood. I don't know if this is Hollywood or not, but like films from that era, right? Any kind of films from that era. There's just something about them. There's like this, I don't know. I have this little place in my heart for them, to be honest with you, even though I know they're like crude and kind of just, obviously the genre wasn't really developed yet and all that kind of stuff. But I really enjoyed the authentic like rawness of it and how it was just very simple and classic. Anyways, I just thought of that when I'm watching the words on the screen like this. It's funny.
Flanked by the church, the rectory, and the people's homes, stands the inn. In its shade and beneath its roof, men of all degrees and of all opinions meet in comradeship and comfort. Walk through any English market town, and you'll find the inn at the center of its life. On market day, The people from the country around meet there to discuss the trend of prices, their children's health, and their home affairs. It's the same in the villages. When the sun warms the earth, they sit outside and watch the world go by. At the English inn today, there is a hospitality that to the host is just as much a sacred charge as it was to the monks and barons in the Middle Ages.
Okay, I have to stop this for a second and say, how amazing is it that what they just said, how it's like how people gather there to sit and watch people go by, to talk about what's happening with their days or what's happening in the world, and it's a gathering place. It's still like that today. It's exactly what they're used for today. I mean, now they're also used for watching sport and everything, but it's the same thing. That's hilarious. And it was used for that like 100 years before this was even made, or probably much longer than that, right here in England. To me, that stuff's so cool. So cool.
Who first gave bread and ale to travellers. Often the only sanctuary in out-of-the-way parts, the monasteries had a lodge open to pilgrims and other wayfarers.
I didn't know that.
Later, these lodges became separate establishments and were eventually run as inns, under such signs as the Pilgrim's Inn. One example of monastic origin is the bull, which gets its name from the papal bull, or bill, not the animal. These inns of England have seen history happen in their yards. Pilgrims and warriors have trodden their stairways. Here, medieval knights refreshed themselves on their journeys to the Crusades to fight under the banner of St. George. The inns have preserved much of England's architecture. The early inn has preserved...
Let me know if you guys recognize any of these, if they're still around.
...some of the finest carvings and treasures. Like the church, it was a sanctuary. Hence, most of these carvings have a religious meaning. Side by side with the monastic inns grew the royal inns, which were used by the king's servants when traveling in the Middle Ages. A house in each village was selected for their accommodation. These too in time became commercial inns under such ancient signs as the Crown. Later, the inn yard was used by the postboy as a link between villages and hamlets. The mails, in turn, were carried by stagecoach further afield, and today, much of our civilization can be traced back to these earlier forms of communication which centered round the inn. As the inns grew more important, their yards grew larger, and galleries were added. These formed a convenient theatre for strolling players, who often used the inn for refreshment after their performance. By the beginning of the 19th century, coach travel had become more popular, and the tavern was used as a coaching station. There, luggage was assembled, and passengers would be taken aboard prior to the long drive across the English countryside. Mail coaches built for speed used the inns as halts, where fresh teams of horses were changed in a matter of seconds. Today, beneath the sign of the old coach and horses, you'll find bicycles. While on the road, cars pass old toll gates, where once fees were collected for the upkeep of the main road. When the railway brought speed to industrial England, it also brought the new railway taverns. You'll also find the inn on the banks of the English waterways, our oldest transport routes. The cargoes which float past have changed with the centuries. Sail has given way to steam and the petrol motor. The inn signs themselves reflect a great variety of topical humor, interests, sports, and history. The load of mischief, a dig at the nagging wife. The volunteer, from the days when warfare was more casual. The White Hart, crest of King Richard II. England's St. George fighting the dragon. And England's St. George refreshing himself afterwards. The 6 bells with its 2 meanings. The row barge to remind us of more leisurely days, and the cross-handed highwayman of when our roads weren't so safe. The fighting cocks, memories of an old English sport. And the airman to bring our inn signs right up to date. Travel along the English road today and you'll find the modern inn, there to refresh all travellers according to their means. Its appearance and amenities differ widely from the village tavern, but its roots are the same. It merely reflects the temper and taste of a new and swifter age. The inn parlour today is used by the local people for communal purposes of a different kind. Air raid wardens use it as their meeting place to discuss how to tackle a new type of incendiary bomb. In the back room of another inn, members of the local fire service are learning how to use some new equipment.
Okay, I'm looking at the inside of some of these pictures, and I've definitely been in pubs that look exactly the same on the inside. I don't know if they're the same pubs that they're featuring here, but I've definitely been in places that look very similar. That's so striking to me because you can't reinvent that, right? There's things like this in America, but there's no authenticity to it because it's too new. It's part of the amazing thing about English pubs is how long they've been around, how many people have traveled through them, how they've changed and or not changed through all of these, centuries. It's something that's extremely special about England. I really love it.
And all over the country, people come once a week to their local tavern to pay their small contribution into the war savings group. The Home Guard have used the inn as a meeting place ever since they were a small, eager body of men hastily organized for home defense. Today, well armed and trained, the inn is still their meeting place.
What is it? My Dad's Army? Is that what it's called, right? Were they meeting in a pub? Because that would be funny.
The inn has changed very little in appearance and hardly at all in its amenities. The contents of its cellar are not so expensive, but quite adequate for this less indulgent age. Oliver Goldsmith wrote of the inn that it was a place where grey-beard mirth from smiling toil retired, where village statesmen talked with looks profound, and news much older than their ale went round. Rich and poor, young and old, the English inn has housed them all and greets them still. For hospitality, tolerance, and companionship are ageless. And at the inn, each of them is merely a new arrival at a feast that never ends.
It was a fun little trip down memory lane. It was fun. I like watching stuff like that. Home Guard. You needed the Home Guard. I'm learning more and more about the Home Guard and all that stuff. It was really fun. Liverpool's oldest pub dating back to 1726. That's so cool. Formula One horses. That's what it's called? Formula One horses? Dad's Army was a village hall. Oh, okay. It could have been a village hall. Yeah. I couldn't remember. But it's, to be honest, I've been to a couple of village halls too, and they look like they could be pubs. Like if you just put a bar in it and put bar in the middle, like especially the smaller villages, right? But in the country and everything. Anyways, fun. I always look going down memory lane like that. I think that stuff's fun. I hope you enjoyed it. I know that those were a little bit different than we usually talk about, guys, but I don't know. I thought after the Remembrance stuff, we could use something a little bit lighter and fun, a little bit more fun. The horses reference was the speed they changed horse teams. Yeah, because like horsepower comes originally from when the horses pulled the wagons, right? So like, but they still use the word horsepower, even though it's now, all petrol and electric engines, right? I think Falco says, I think in the day an inn had to provide a room for the night and a place to rest the horses. Taverns and alehouses were for drinking. They all became pubs. I think you might be right. That makes complete sense, Falco. Right? Because the inns, yeah, that makes sense. I'm trying to think. In America, the only ones I can really think of are like the Old West, the Wild Wild West, like rooms, and they weren't they were all called hotels basically, and they all had rooms with the bar and the tables set up like a pub, and of course they had the rooms upstairs, and they always had the women available if they so desired. They're always in the center of town. This does similar to what a pub is. I guess it was a combination of a pub in the lines are blurred after a while too, right? And then if you look at modern day hotels, they're basically just a modern version of a pub or an inn combination, right? You have the rooms, and then you have the event rooms, and then you usually have a restaurant. So that makes sense. Less than a minute to change tires and horses. Oh. All right, I got you. I follow you now, TJ. Thanks. That's interesting. I always like those things, those stories behind the names of the pubs and stuff too. I think that's funny. Chris is like, I all of it's correct. I was about to put all of that in, and then the video talked about it. We had a pub around here called the Coach House. When we were looking at places to live, we found places like the Carriage House, and it was like an old carriage house that was, converted into a house or an apartment. Coach House, Gatehouse, and I was like, wait, are they really like gatehouses, or were they really like coach houses or whatever? And all the English people laughed at me. But we don't have anything like that in America. We have like barns. With our equivalent would probably be like old barns that were converted into homes, or an apartment or something like that. I actually looked at an apartment when my very first apartment was one of the apartments I looked at was a second floor of a barn. They had refurbished it and all that kind of stuff. But that's it. We just have barns. We don't really have like old coach houses and stuff turned into apartments. At least, I mean, there probably are in like old city of Philadelphia, and there's probably parts of New York where there's like stuff converted, but it's not. It's much more prevalent here. It's much more regular here, and everyone knows what it is. In America, honestly, my first instinct, if I saw something like that, would be like they're just using that as a name for this brand new building that they're trying to make look old. It's like in London, they have green shack for the taxi drivers that came about in London. They have green shack for the taxi drivers that came about in the time of horse-drawn. I'm sure I follow you. So they had green shack, which was originated in horse-drawn taxis, and now taxi drivers use it. I believe that's what you're trying to say, Chris. But let me know if I'm misunderstanding you. I was having trouble interpreting a lot of stuff today at work too. I'm having trouble with that. In America, let me just talk about this for a second. In America, we're vast and we are very diverse, but everyone speaks at least broken English. And when you're writing, you learn how to write in American grammar. I'm just going to call it American grammar. I know people get mad at me when I say American grammar, English, and American English, stuff like that. But it's the easiest way to differentiate. There is a difference. So, because when they're writing emails and stuff, it's easier to interpret because it's either in the broken English, which I'm used to, or it's in American grammar, which obviously I'm used to because I grew up with it. So here, not only do I have to kind of interpret it for the British English language and grammar, but because we work with a lot of people, a lot of offices in Europe, so the company is actually based in Europe, and it's a lot of different countries. So we work with France, Spain, Belgium. I know there's another one, and I'm forgetting it. Portugal, that was the other one. So like there's also broken English from each of those countries, and then grammar from each of those countries, interpretation from each of those countries. So sometimes I'm like this, like trying to figure out what an email means. And I was having that problem today. A lot. I don't know why. I was just not able to understand anybody's saying today. I must have asked someone at least 3 or 4 times today, like, do you think this is what they mean when they say this? I feel bad, but I don't. I would rather ask because I don't want to assume anything. Because every time I assumed something or I thought I knew something, I got proven wrong or I got told I was wrong. So I'm trying really hard to have a positive spin on things at work. So anyways, that was my story. Mini rant. I was having, but it is just hard sometimes to interpret when you're not used to, what's going to happen. We had that conversation a few weeks ago, didn't we? There are shacks that the taxi drivers have used since the horse-drawn cabs. Oh, I got you. Okay. So they're like little cafes or little like stops, like little inns I got you. Okay, I'm with you. The green shacks are cafes that came out about when the horse-drawn was a thing, but thanks to my son pestering me, it all went. Oh, no, Chris, don't say that. Now I feel bad. You're fine. It's totally fine. Don't sweat it. It's totally fine. I thought I just wasn't putting together the calf part. I wasn't putting together the in part. That's why I was misconfused. It was me. I told you I'm having trouble today. Usually I'm much better than this, but to be honest, I didn't get much sleep last night, so. But, it'll be okay. Everything's okay. It's good. Oh my gosh, I was going to open with this and I completely forgot. I can't believe it. So I'm going to close with it. Okay. I have some news. I got an email today. Shall I read it to you? Dear Ms. Hickson, your application under the partner route of the immigration rules has been successful. You've been granted permission to stay into the UK until June of 2027. Yay! My visa got renewed. That was really tense. I don't know why, but I was really, really worried that I was going to get, I didn't think I was going to get like deported. I just thought I was going to have trouble for some reason because I had left my job and I had to go a few months where I wasn't working. We changed apartments in the middle of the visa application process, and we went abroad and came back. It was just like, I was just like, I don't know if this is all kosher. Sorry, it's an American thing. I was like, I don't know if this is all like, okay. You know what I mean? I feel like there's just, it was ripe with I just felt like it was just right for the perfect storm to go wrong. Everything was going wrong at one point. It felt like, but what an amazing, amazing feeling. This feels like a weight's been lifted off of me. It is so tense and stressful. I have a newfound respect for my partner. I have to give him props because he went through this for like almost 2 decades in America, and I don't know how he did it. Because this is tough. I can't wait. I can't wait until I can apply for permanent residency and I get this off of my shoulders. And it's freaking expensive. Ugh. I had to take a day off work to go get my bios. It's a big old to do. Oh, thank you all. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, TJ. Thank you guys, all of you, for your wonderful congratulations. I appreciate it. Thank you, Roy. Yes, Chris, I am lucky in that sense, aren't I? It's seriously like it is. It's really hard to explain to anyone who hasn't been through it, but it is really difficult to just breathe sometimes because you just feel so overwhelmed with the what ifs, right? And I'm someone who likes to be a positive person, but be kind of have some contingency plans. And I really don't have a contingency plan on this. Like I can always go back to America, yeah, but I also like don't want to. I mean, there's a whole lot of stuff involved with it, right? Like my kid, I'm not going to make my kid go back to America again after making this huge move here. And obviously, she wouldn't be obligated to leave in any way because she's a citizen. And I would have to, go be without my kid and and there's other stuff involved in that. But yeah, I'm not even going to dwell on that anymore because I got great news and I'm able to stay in the country at least until June of 2027. So I'm just going to take a deep breath. Revel in the moment and enjoy myself while I can. It is a really good feeling to have that behind me. We're settling into the house. Some stuff, other stuff in the private life that was going on behind the scenes is settling as well. And so it just feels really good to just have this moment where I'm like kind of releasing some of the stress. I released a bunch of stuff about my dad over the weekend. I've been releasing stuff about work and trying to figure out a new approach. So it's a little bit more positive experience for me. And it's all seems to be at the moment, seems to be going in a better direction. So I feel really good about it all. And I think a lot of it has to do with you guys, to be honest. Like I get to actually talk this stuff out with you and you guys are honest with me and you're straightforward and you don't judge me about it. And I just don't have that all the time outside of this. And it's also really nice to I do have it outside, but it's they're all biased opinions, right? Because they all have a different stake in the game, right? So it's difficult to talk, and I get to talk to you guys and get objective feedback. I mean, you have a little bit of a stake in the game, but honestly, I could do this channel from anywhere. I don't have to be in England, right? So obviously, it has a little bit more clout being in England, but it's not exactly the same, right? But anyways, I do want to say thank you guys. You just all your support and listening and participation and everything that you do and just being there. You've helped me out a lot this past year. It's been a rough one. And it's not like it's been a rough one. It's just a lot of stuff has happened that I've had to work through. A lot of realizations and a lot of adjustments. You guys are awesome. Awesome. Okay, I'm going to end it there because I feel like it's just a good stopping point instead of getting into something else. Yeah. So that's it for me tonight. Thank you guys so much. I hope you enjoyed the show. Special thanks to our monitor, Chris, for hanging in there. Obviously, a amazing person. He does a fantastic job. Big shout out to him. I really appreciate it because you help us out a lot. Thank you to everybody who came in that doesn't always join us. I appreciate you coming and joining us. That was awesome. I hope you come back and see us again. Remember, we are live every Tuesday at 8 p.m. UK time. Another congratulations to all the finalists. And again, the list will be put out in the community tab tomorrow. Make sure you vote. Make sure you get everybody in the community to vote and all of the friends of the channel. Make sure you hit that like button if you haven't already. And consider subscribing if you haven't already as well. That helps us. And if not, just thank you for being here. And as always, thank you for listening. And I hope everybody has a great rest of their week. Stay safe. Love y'all. And I will see you next time.